All right, Senate candidate Mark Pukita. There were a lot of fireworks this week at the State Board of Education on September 21st, and there was also fireworks in July on the 13th. Both times when you visit, there's lots of fireworks, and a lot of it is with this guy named John Hagan. So John Hagan and you, I'm taking, are probably not on each other's holiday card list at this point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the whole interaction of John Hagan with you from the September 21st meeting first, and then I'll stop and we can talk some about it. Then I will play some clips from the July 13th. Now, anybody watching this knows they can go to your Facebook page, Mark for Ohio on Facebook, and they can watch the whole parts of the meeting, the whole public participation in these meetings. I've just got some highlights here. So let's start. I'm going to play the whole 2-minute and 20-second or so clip of John Hagan's response to you daring to talk to him and the board at the State Board of Education meeting on September 21st.
I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you calling me out and calling me a coward, along with anyone else that I guess you consider a conservative in the room. I think that's telling of who you are, okay? I do appreciate that you're here to speak, and that's a good thing because the public should be allowed to speak. I do find it almost comical in your approach. So you may consider after this race trying out for stand-up comedy.
That's offensive. That's offensive. And you did it last time.
Mr. Hagan, response?
As opposed to what you said about members of this board, that's offensive? Really?
What about it was untrue?
It was all untrue.
That's not true.
You don't understand the process.
No, I do understand the process, and I understand you're hiding behind the process. You could have an emergency resolution and get this taken care of today, and I actually gave you a simple copy. I read it. I got the resolution in and read it in 5 minutes with my testimony. And I gave you the process that you know you can follow to do it, but you're not going to do it because you're afraid to do it. Well, why wouldn't you do it, John?
First of all, being a former legislator, understanding that working with people is always better than working against people. If you know that your resolution is not going to pass, you work with the members to try to get to a point where you could pass it, as opposed to an in-your-face, call-you-out approach. So that is why I won't do it. I certainly agree that it's something that we need to work towards. I think that at some point we're going to be a lot better off than we are right now in reference to the resolution. And I think your assessment of the Attorney General's opinion is drastically different than what the opinion says.
Well, I'd love an explanation on that, on Dave Yost's opinion. But what I will tell you is, as a legislator, you also understand that there are times that you need to put people on the record for an up or down vote so voters can understand where they stand. And that's what you're afraid of doing here.
Wow, Mark. So lots to unpack there. Let's kind of start towards the end. This idea of a Dave Yost opinion. What's your problem with the Dave Yost opinion strategy and the result in his opinion?
Well, the problem I have with the strategy, Chris, is it's simply a kick the can down the road strategy to take no action, to not have to go on the record. I mean, let's face it. It went to Dave Yost. What was Dave Yost going to do with it? It's a policy statement. It's not legal language. And he came back with, an opinion on the piece that did have something that was legal in it. Listen, this was policy. This was symbolic language. And it's a racist screed, and it needs to be repealed.
So another part of that was you calling him a coward, calling John Hagan a coward. Do you think John Hagan is a coward, and why?
I do. Look, back in July, they did nothing. And he was real outspoken and critical of me, yet did nothing. Then his strategy is, let's send this to Dave Yost so we can delay this even more, because, Yost isn't going to rule on it, in a day. And then we're now in September and we get the Yost ruling, which means nothing, but they also don't do a resolution in this meeting. So now we're going to be going into, I don't know when the next meeting is, December. So we've wasted all this time. So yeah, he's a coward.
Do you think he's emblematic of what I might call like sort of the failed swamp rhino establishment that's so prominent within Ohio Republican politics?
Totally emblematic. And it's not just Republican Ohio politics. It's Republican politics at all levels of government all across the country. We've got this get nothing done, kick things down the road. And then on top of that, when citizens and voters get up in front of people like John, he wants to belittle them and criticize them and act like they work for him or I work for him, not the other way around.
Well, it's funny you said that. I know you're not a fan of Rob Portman, and maybe John Hagan went to the Rob Portman school of how to get things done.
Or Rob Portman went to the John Hagan school.
I don't know who's older there, but my last question is, you're in this Senate race, you're going all out, you're constantly on the road doing stuff, out meeting with people. Are you considering a career in stand-up comedy down the road based on how the Senate race comes out?
Based on how my jokes go over at campaign events, I think I'll leave that to someone else.
All right. So I'm going to play some clips. We're going to jump back now. I'm going to play a few clips from the July 13th meeting so we can see how John Hagan reacted when you spoke there.
Mr. Pukita, I would make a few suggestions in your presentation. Coming in with the guns a-blazing and attacking everyone in the room is kind of a dumb approach.
There you have John Hagan's guns a-blazing comment. He doesn't like that. He thinks you're guns a-blazing. What's your reaction?
Well, people should go back and listen to my speech that he's commenting on. If that's guns a-blazing, it's pretty clear that John has never been to a Trump rally or even listened to a Trump speech. He's probably more in line with a Jeb Bush.
There are also several members in the room that will support my resolution, which you have condemned, to send this to the Attorney General for analysis. I know you apparently think you're the smartest man in the room, and that's your prerogative.
All right, Mark, you talked about the Yost opinion already, but that's John Hagan's comment that you must think you're the smartest guy in the room. Tell me, were you the smartest guy in the room?
I don't know, Chris. I don't know if I was the smartest guy in the room or not. I may have been, but I will tell you that I'm the only fighter in that room. I was the only fighter in that room that day.
And also realize that people that are on your side don't need to be attacked. And that usually doesn't do anything for your overall picture. So thank you for being here. Thank you for some of your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Let me just make one comment about going to the Attorney General. Do you not think that just by the fact you have to take this to the Attorney General, that it's flawed?
So there, Mark, John said that attacking people who are on your side doesn't do anything for your cause. What's your reaction to that?
John's not on my side. I'm on the side of hundreds of thousands of families who don't want their kids used as political pawns. John's just playing a political game.
Why not just use the emergency powers of the board? And
you need to take a look at the board before you make these assumptions. There's no advantage to putting resolutions forward that fail.
So there, John Hagan says there's no advantage to putting forward a resolution that you know is going to fail. What's your reaction to that, Mark?
Resolutions are put forward that fail all the time, Chris. The idea is to get legislators to go on the record. I mean, it's the same problem we've got with House Bill 248 in Ohio. Whether it passes or fails, we want to see where our legislators stand.
So that was my last clip. And I think it's a month from now, another State Board of Education meeting is coming up. Have you been intimidated out of the room by John Hagan, or are you planning to go back and talk again to your friend John Hagan and the rest of the board?
Oh, Chris, the minute I left that room, I put the next meeting on my calendar.
All right. I'm sure everybody will be looking forward to it. Thank you for taking a few extra minutes. Thank you for taking a few extra minutes than just 5 minutes and to talk about your performance and your policies and your statements that you put forth at the State Board of Education meeting on 9/21 and 7/13. Thank you, Mark Pukita.
My pleasure, Chris.